Don't you dare use my toilet. An incompetent woman like you is not my family. You act like this is your house. I've been letting you live here, but I've never heard a word of appreciation from you.
Thank you.
What? I can't hear you. Anyway, how long are you going to sit there? I'm horrified that you are touching my things. You contaminate them and even make the air polluted too. From now on, you will go outside for a shower and toilet. That's good enough for you.
You can't be serious. There is nothing open at this time of night.
What are you talking about? There is a field and a pond right there. You can make good use of them.
Having said that, my mother-in-law locked me out of the house. The story goes back some time ago. After I married my husband Henry, we moved in with his parents for convenience as we both worked. I had been visiting them from time to time before I got married. My father-in-law was kind and treated me like a real daughter. I lost my father when I was very young, so he became like a real father to me. Unfortunately, he fell ill just before the wedding and was hospitalized when I started living at his house. My mother-in-law, Jackie, on the other hand, was cold to me in contrast to him. She acted cheerful and nice and never did anything wrong to me in front of her family. But then, once we were alone,
your flavoring is too salty. Do you want to make me sick? You bring bad energy around me.
She verbally abused me. She was a housewife and was always at home. Being alone with her was the most difficult time for me. I didn't want to go home, so I put in more hours at work. She became increasingly abusive toward me as I worked overtime every day. In the end, I received snide remarks together with a disapproving sigh every time she saw me. One evening, she scowled at me as usual upon my return from work.
Don't you dare walk around the house like that. You are filthy.
She scolded me. I was starving and wanted to eat dinner first, but I reluctantly headed toward the bathroom. She quickly walked past me and stood in front of me with disgust.
You're not thinking of using my shower, are you?
But you told me to clean up.
Go outside. How dare you try to use my shower?
Outside? There's nothing open around here at this hour.
Then go farther. You can look it up on Google Maps. I'm a germaphobe, you know. I can't stand having strangers in my house in the first place. It grosses me out to have an unhygienic person like you here.
But what am I supposed to do?
If you keep staying here, you contaminate everything. Besides, a daughter-in-law isn't my family. So take your shower and toilet outside.
Toilet too? How am I supposed to do that?
Shut up! There are public toilets. There is a pond nearby too. Stop complaining and get the heck out of here.
She dragged me out of the house and locked the door behind me. I stared at the closed door in despair. It had been a normal occurrence for me to take verbal abuse from her, but that was the first time she had gone to such an extreme. I figured that I would be allowed to use the bathroom the next day and drove to the nearby gas station at that time. It was wishful thinking. I was not allowed to use the shower or toilet for several days after that. For the shower, I went to the gym where I had a monthly membership. I spent my days going to the gym and using the restroom at a nearby gas station or shopping center. Jackie was not satisfied with that. Her tirade didn't end there. And on top of all that, she said,
I'm letting you live in my house, so it's only logical that you give me your salary. It's called rent. You are really despicable to stay for free.
I had been sending money to my mother, who lived alone in the countryside, to make a comfortable living. Jackie was fiercely determined that I was afraid to refuse, and ended up giving her my entire salary. Henry was aware of how I was being treated by her, but he always put her before me. He pretended not to see me going out to use the bathroom, no matter how cold it was outside. On the contrary, he sometimes joined her in mocking me. More than half a year after we started living together, her harassment didn't stop, but it got worse by the day. I couldn't understand why I was being treated like this. I tried to think of anything I had done wrong. My own husband was on his mother's side, and my kind father-in-law was in the hospital. My mother had suffered from a heart ailment in the past, and I didn't want to worry her. There was no one whom I could rely on around me. After all, I had to endure unreasonable treatment every day without being able to talk to anyone about it. If I stayed at home, I had to hear nothing but criticism, which was depressing. I gave all my salary to Jackie, and of course, Henry didn't give me any allowance. I couldn't even enjoy the time outside the house. Besides, I had to do housework on behalf of Jackie, who refused to do it. When I came home late, she complained, so I couldn't just stay out. I couldn't buy new clothes or go to the hairdresser, and my body and soul were falling apart. I looked forward to stopping by the gym, but since Jackie started taking my salary, I wasn't able to continue with the membership. I struggled to find a place to shower, and my body gradually began to suffer from itching and other discomforts. One day, as I stopped at the train station to use the toilet, I saw my father-in-law, Ian. His health was improving, and he got permission to stay at home overnight that day. I was supposed to pick him up later, but apparently he had made it back on his own. He was smiling as usual and spoke to me in the same gentle manner as before.
Hi, Lolan. What are you doing here?
I just need to use the bathroom.
Huh? You have it at home. Is it not working?
No, it's not that.
What's wrong?
If I told him how I was being treated at home, it would have made him worry. I wanted to avoid stressing him. However, I was struggling to hold back my urge to urinate, so I told him about what had been going on at home. I'm not family, so I'm not allowed to use the bathroom at home.
What?
Jackie is a germaphobe and can't stand it when I, a stranger, use her bathroom.
What's Henry been doing about it?
He's on her side, so nothing in particular.
I see.
He let out a deep sigh.
I'm sorry to hear all that. Let's go home.
He squeezed my shoulder. His reaction loosened the tension in me, and I had to try hard to hold back my tears. After I finished using the bathroom, we went back home together. Once we were back, he gathered Jackie and Henry in the living room. At first, she was happy to see the long-awaited return of her husband. But then, she was puzzled by the strange air around him.
Lauren told me all about what you have been doing to her.
What do you mean? What has been going on?
Don't pretend. I heard that you wouldn't let her use the shower or toilet in the house because she's not family. I also heard that you are taking away all of her salary.
That's not true.
Jackie glared at me. Ian stepped in between us and hid me from her.
What are you doing? You should reflect on what you have done to her instead. Indeed, she's not blood related, but she married our son and tried to become a part of the family. Instead of treating her with gratitude, you treated her in such a terrible way. You and I were originally strangers who became a family, right? We couldn't have been if we didn't care for each other. What on earth are you thinking? And you, Henry?
He jerked as he heard his name called.
You're her husband, aren't you? You're on the wrong side right now. Start protecting your wife and stop being so attached to your mother already. This is the role of a husband. But it's not but. You are a grown man. It's overdue to let go of your parents.
Ian was calm, but there was suddenly a sense of anger in his voice. Henry seemed to be frightened and glanced at Jackie for help.
We didn't mean to neglect her, right, Mom?
She looked at him for a moment and then turned to Ian.
It's all a misunderstanding. Henry told me that if Lauren didn't use the shower and toilet in the house, the water bill would be less, and her salary should be ours, so we should take it away from her. I told him I couldn't do such a pitiful thing, but he insisted.
Hey, what are you talking about?
I didn't want to do it, but I had to follow his order.
That's bullshit. You're the one who complains to me about sharing the bathroom with Lauren. About her salary too. You said if you could use it, you would be able to live a more carefree life.
What? I can't believe you're pointing a finger at your own mother.
They began to blame each other. Unable to follow the scene in front of me, I just quietly stared at them in a daze. The two, who told each other that they were not to blame, showed no trace of their former good relationship, but only ugliness. Ian sighed loudly next to me.
I understand how you guys are now. You have no intention of apologizing to Lauren, and you're accusing each other. You should know a little bit about shame. Both of you, get out of my house right now. You need to cool down and think about what you have done.
He immediately kicked them out of the house. I corresponded with them several times after that, but instead of expressing remorse, they showed resentment at being kicked out. Ian and I were both disgusted and decided to divorce and cut ties with them. When the divorce was finalized several months later, I was summoned by Ian.
I blame myself for Jackie being selfish and arrogant, and Henry being a mommy's boy. All because I had been putting work first in my life. I lectured about family like I knew best, but I was never a good husband or father. I was someone who paid not enough attention to the family. I hoped Henry would take me as a bad example and do the opposite with you.
It's okay, Ian.
How selfish of me. I'm really sorry, Lauren. It was my fault to begin with. As an apology, I want you to take this house.
Please, Ian. It's not your fault. Besides, this house is filled with your precious memories, isn't it? I can't take it.
But I would like to make some kind of apology to you. I've caused you a lot of pain.
Then, will you hang out with me from time to time?
Hang out? Is that what you want?
Yes. I lost my father when I was very young. I thought of you as my real father. So I hope we can continue to be friends in the future. He nodded in agreement with a bit of an awkward expression of embarrassment and happiness. I then moved into an apartment and started making my single life. Ian was discharged from the hospital and also started living at home alone. He often invited me to dinner with him, and we enjoyed talking about our new life. As time passed, he became interested in meeting my mother again. He had only met her at the wedding, and they had not seen each other since then. If I wanted to continue my relationship with him, I thought it was a good idea to have dinner with the three of us once. Soon after, we arranged a date to meet up. Unexpectedly, my mother and Ian seemed to hit it off, and the dinner was full of joy. Before my marriage, there was difficulties to arrange a proper meeting due to Ian's health condition and my mother's schedule. They had only met at the wedding and weren't able to get to know each other well. They were actually close in age and shared similar hobbies. They talked quite a bit at the dinner, and before I knew it, they were meeting without me. They became romantically involved in no time, and Ian is my stepfather now. I can still see the two of them a little embarrassed, coming to announce their engagement. I was so surprised and overjoyed that I cried. My mother moved out of the countryside, and I moved out of my apartment. The three of us are living happily together in Ian's house now. Meanwhile, Ian told me that Jackie and Henry were making the ends meet. Henry was working hard to support Jackie, but his relationship with his selfish mother, who always complained about everything, deteriorated by the day. It sounded like she had turned all of her frustration toward him since I disappeared. He was stressed from working overtime and from living with a difficult mother. Eventually, he became depressed and ended up quitting his job without telling her. Of course, she was furious with him, but she soon realized that someone had to make a living. She finally got off her butt and started working. However, she had been a housewife for a long time and was naive in some ways, so she struggled to find the job that she wanted. She has been repeating with getting and quitting a job until now. She and Henry have been contacting Ian from time to time to ask for financial help, but he has been refusing them.
They are my former family. I have to take care of this family now.
He looked at my mother and me and continued to say,
If I could teach them anything now, it would be to go through the hardship and learn the pain that people go through. If they would be a little kinder to others, maybe someone would come along to help them.
He sounded a little sad. I'm sure I will have many hardships in the future, but I must not forget to be kind and cultivate a heart that is considerate of others. And one day, I would like to build a loving, caring, and wonderful family like my mother and Ian.
Don't mess around, you scammer. If you didn't have any savings, I wouldn't have married you. I was planning to spend my life leeching off your money. Damn it. I never expected my husband to be such a despicable man. I had reached my limit with my husband, who kept insulting me. And then I came up with a forbidden revenge. This can't be true. As I looked down on my astonished husband, I smirked. My name is Aliyah, a 34-year-old office worker. I've been working for a company since graduating from college, for over 12 years now. Although I had been devoted to my work and had been given a decent position in the company, I was far behind in my private life. Many of my friends were getting married and having children, and my parents were starting to ask me when I was going to get married. I had lived for myself until now, thinking that I would be happy as long as I was devoted to my work. But when my parents said they wanted to see me in a wedding dress, and my friends said that marriage was a good thing, and my heart began to waver. According to my friends, marriage is also about making your family happy, not just yourself, and it can be done while working hard at your job. After hearing that, I became interested in marriage. However, I knew that the partner I choose is the key. I wanted someone who understands my devotion to work and was someone I could chill around. Although looks and income from work are somewhat important, I didn't place too much emphasis on income because I could earn my own money. With that in mind, I began looking for someone to date with the intention of getting married. Then a friend told me they would host a mixer, so I decided to participate. I was nervous at my first mixer, but it turned out to be a normal drinking party atmosphere, and I felt relieved. The men who participated in the mixer were all classmates from university who have decent jobs. Among them, I talked a lot with a guy named Bill. Bill was 1 year older than me, and because we were close in age, we had a lot of common topics to talk about. He had a good sense of humor, It was fun to talk to him. At my first mixer, I felt like I had found a good person. But at that time, a woman named Cindy came between us. Hey Bill, having fun? Aaliyah, is it? Can you please give up your seat? I want to talk to Bill. Huh? Oh, sure. Go ahead. Overwhelmed by her aggressiveness, I gave up my seat. And Cindy stayed with Bill the whole time. At this rate, there is no way Bill and I will get any closer. Thinking that, I gave up on the mixer and decided to focus on my meal. Cindy is much younger and cuter, and she's probably better for Bill anyway. The other men had already paired off with other women, so I waited for the mixer to end, feeling a little bitter. But after the mixer ended, Bill asked me for my contact information outside the store. I didn't get to talk to you much, Aaliyah, so how about we meet up and chat at a cafe sometime? I was surprised, but very happy. And for the first time in a while, I felt like I remembered what it was like to be in love. From then on, I exchanged messages with Bill and met him at a cafe on our days off. We talked a lot, and I thought we were really compatible. Being with him just felt so comfortable. I'm not the type to be aggressive, and I think I've been pretty cautious in my few past romantic experiences. But with him, I thought I could marry him. We continued to deepen our relationship naturally, but we weren't officially dating yet. Then, Cindy suddenly contacted me. Cindy was a junior of a friend of mine, and we had exchanged contact information before the mixer. She was like a little demon, with a completely different personality in front of men than in front of women. She had seemed selfish even when we first met, and it seemed like she had her sights set on Bill, so she must have seen me as her enemy. What's this about, Cindy? Cindy said she wanted to meet me and talk to me after work, so I agreed with some caution. Can I ask you straight up? You don't think you were going to date Bill, do you? I do want to date him. You're really out of your league, aren't you, Aaliyah? Huh? What do you mean? I know you were aware of this, but I'm also after Bill. Yeah, I figured as much. There's no way I'm not going to win, right? I'm younger and cuter than you. And you are already an old lady. You. Do you really think I'll fall for such a cheap provocation? Being young isn't the only positive factor, you know. Actually, I have a lot in common with him. Don't you have a huge generation gap and struggle to hold a conversation? Aaliyah, are you trying to compete with me? Don't you think that just because you are young, you can have everything your way? Cindy and I were in a confrontational state, ready to fight each other. I think we both had pretty scary faces. But I can't afford to lose to such a young girl. I seemed to be more competitive than I thought. As it was my first romance in a while, I consulted with a friend who had invited me to the mixer, thinking that she might suggest something that would help me, as she was also Cindy's senior. Cindy likes to take away boys that others are interested in, like that. My friend's frankness surprised me a little. Is she really such a bad person? Well, that's why I didn't want to bring her to the mixer. But she found out accidentally. If you're going to fight Cindy, it's better not to lose your pace. Just be yourself as usual, and you'll be fine. Okay, got it. Thanks. If my friend says so. I should follow her advice. So I didn't try to be too aggressive and continued to interact with Bill as usual. Then one day, Bill confessed his feelings to me.
Can you date me with marriage in mind?
What? Me? Are you okay with me?
Huh? What do you mean okay with you?
Oh, never mind.
So, what's your answer?
Yes, of course.
Great. Thank you, Aaliyah.
And so, I started dating Bill. That meant I had won against Cindy. I was happy that I could be with the person I liked and that I had won against her. Cindy didn't contact me in particular, but according to my friends, she was quite upset. After that, Bill and I continued our relationship smoothly, and about 6 months later, he proposed to me. For the first time in my life, I tasted the pinnacle of happiness. Even though I was always busy with work, it was great to be proposed to. My parents also liked him, and I liked his parents as well. We had a face-to-face meeting with both families, and we were able to have a successful wedding. My friends and coworkers also celebrated my wedding grandly, and I was very happy. After that, we started our married life.
Welcome home, Aaliyah.
I'm home, Bill. Oh, something smells good.
Today, it's herb grilled chicken.
Yummy. Thanks, babe. My husband comes home earlier than I do and takes the initiative to do household chores. He always cooks dinner for me when I come home, so it really helps. It seems like we could continue to have a happy married life together. But that kind of happiness only lasted for the first few months. After that, our relationship deteriorated rapidly, and it all started when my husband asked me something.
By the way, how much do you have in savings, Aaliyah?
Savings? Why do you ask?
Well, I was thinking that as a couple, it's good to know each other's savings, you know? To have an idea of how much we need to save for something like a future home.
I see. That does make sense.
So, how much do you have saved up?
I have about $30,000 saved up right now, I think.
Huh?
$30,000? When I answered his question about my savings, my husband's eyes widened and his mouth dropped open. What? What's wrong, Bill?
No, nothing. Is that your entire savings?
Yeah, that's how much I have right now. My husband let out a sigh and said he was going to take a bath before walking away from the conversation. I was left wondering what was going on. From his reaction, I could tell that he was upset that my savings were less than he had anticipated. I was angry that he would be so openly upset about my savings being low. I still didn't know how much he had saved up. The next day, my husband began acting very cold towards me. He would ignore me when I greeted him in the morning and would only prepare dinner for himself, even if he came home earlier than me. I couldn't help but feel angry that he would act this way towards me. But in the midst of all this, something unexpected happened. About 2 weeks after my husband started giving me the cold shoulder, I started feeling extremely sick and left work early to go to the hospital. There, I found out that I was pregnant. I was shocked but overjoyed that I was carrying a life inside of me. I thought that my husband's behavior would change once he found out we were having a baby. I'm pregnant. Upon returning home, I immediately told my husband. He had a startled expression on his face and looked serious.
You're planning to having a child, even though we have no savings?
Of course I am. Are you seriously suggesting I get an abortion?
If we have no money, we may have to consider that option. Besides, Your salary won't be fully paid during maternity leave, and expenses will increase when the child is born, right?
Are you serious? I can't believe you made such a statement. I couldn't believe my husband said something like that. Unbelievable. Don't you have any empathy? I never thought you were that kind of person. I became emotional and raised my voice. Then, my husband became angry.
Don't play dumb, you scammer.
What? Scammer?
If you had no savings, I wouldn't have married you. I was planning to spend my life leeching off your money. Damn it. You work for a big corporation, right? Your salary is definitely higher than mine. Yet, you have no savings. That's why you are a scammer. Got it?
I couldn't believe it. I never imagined that my husband was such a despicable person.
Let's get a divorce then.
No, I won't.
What? Why not? I never said we should break up.
What do you mean? Even when I asked, my husband just shrugged and didn't give me a reason. After that, my husband started to say terrible things to me.
What's the point of having a child if you are a spendthrift? It's impossible not to save money while working for a big corporation. Marriage to a woman with no savings is a failure.
Every time we met, my husband said such things. If he was so unhappy, he could have just left me. But for some reason, he didn't want to separate. I don't mind fighting in court for however many years it takes. But if it comes to that, won't it be tough to pay for court fees when we have a child? In that case, it's probably better to continue our married life as it is. When I heard my husband say that, I realized something. He was probably trying to mentally wear me down so that I would eventually agree to give up child support and property division voluntarily. I absolutely did not want to do that. But continuing to live with my husband was also difficult. I had reached my limit with his constant verbal abuse. Then I thought of a forbidden revenge plan. About 3 months later, one day, I brought up divorce to my husband as usual. However, what was different this time was that I had a secret weapon that could allow me to get a divorce while placing the blame on him.
So you were having an affair. Let's get a divorce. What did you say?
My husband was speechless as he looked at the evidence I had spread out on the table. You'll be paying a lot in compensation.
So, be prepared.
How did you find out?
Bad things always get found out. Just admit your wrongdoing quietly. Anyway, let's handle everything through lawyers from now on. I left my husband, who was frozen with a pale face, and packed my bags while giving him a side glance. Then, I received compensation and requested child support. It seems that my ex-husband was reluctant to pay, but my lawyer pursued the request. Thanks to that, I was able to receive full payment in installments. After that, I took maternity leave and gave birth in my hometown. I gave birth to a healthy baby girl. My parents were very happy to meet their grandchild. My ex-husband apparently planned to remarry his affair partner, but for some reason, he was immediately rejected. I received a message from my ex-husband saying that he wanted to get back together, but I laughed while looking at the message with a certain person. The person was Cindy, who had once competed for my ex-husband's girlfriend position. Actually, I contacted Cindy as revenge against my ex-husband. I told her all about my ex-husband's true nature
and asked for her cooperation. Surprisingly, Cindy enthusiastically participated in the plan.
Actually, my father was a terrible man and was like Bill. He relied on my mother's income and was a freeloader who didn't work. Listening to your story made me angry, as it reminded me of my father. Cindy no longer had an aggressive attitude like before and understood my story and situation well. Then Cindy seduced Bill and created a fake romantic relationship that was enough to be evidence of their affair. Baby, my grandfather was a big landowner, and he was actually quite wealthy in the local area.
Cindy reportedly used that to appeal to Bill. As a result, my ex-husband thought that he could not only live an easy life, but also marry a beautiful young woman. Thanks to that, I was able to gather evidence of their affair and divorce Bill. I can't thank Cindy enough for her cooperation in this forbidden revenge. On the other hand, Cindy also thanked me. I feel like I was able to get revenge on my father through this, you know? It felt really refreshing. Thank you for giving me this opportunity, Aliyah. After that, we promised each other to find a good partner next time, and we shook hands firmly. Then, I returned to my parents' house and raised my child with their support. I am truly happy that I get to spend time with my daughter every day. By the way, there was a reason why I had little savings at that time. Before I got married to my husband, I had purchased an apartment for real estate investment, and I had paid almost all the money at that time, which is why I had little savings. Currently, I earn a considerable amount of money from rental income and my job at a large corporation. I plan to save this money carefully for my daughter's future education and my retirement. For now, I want to take good care of my daughter while being grateful to my parents.